Greetings and welcome to the Master Fill in Your Corner podcast. This is episode number 79. Red wave or pink trickle? Is Trump's time over? Well, today we have a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, Dr. Remo Biangioni, and he's a Princeton grad. He's a doctor of dentistry, very active in the track and field community, as well as some other ones. Remo, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm a New Jersey native, grew up in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, went to Bergen Catholic High School. I played football and track there and then went on to Princeton. And I was the captain of the track team my senior year there. And then went to the University of Pennsylvania for dental school, graduated in 1985. And I've been in general practice since 1985. And I have offices in Englewood and Demarest. And it's blown by and very quickly. These years have just blown by. Been married since 2001, have two kids, both in college, one at Delaware, one at Susquehanna. And I love New Jersey and I love America. My father was an immigrant from Luxembourg, so I did go to Europe a few times as a kid. And so at an very early stage in my life, I developed a very deep appreciation for life in America. I never took it for granted. That's not to say that I don't love to travel and to see the culture of different countries, but I just thought that it's just much easier to live in America and to get ahead in America. Obviously, you could find a place like Switzerland, a very small country, or even Luxembourg, where my dad was from, which has really come quite a lot since World War II. But that's really my roots as far as just appreciating where I had grown up and the diversity of this country, the geography, the different personalities, the different strengths, the different topography, it's what makes America amazing. We've got every natural resource imaginable, and of course, we have a very rich history, and it's a checkered history, but the pluses far outweigh the negatives, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And before we get more into this, and of course, we're going to thank our sponsors, but what events did you do in track?
When in high school, I did long jump and sprints, and my best events were 60-yard dash, 100, 220, and 300-yard dashes. In college, I did not long jump at all. I just did the 100, 200, and occasionally I'd run 4x100, 4x400 meter relay, and I also always ran on the 4x100 meter relay. Awesome. And then when I got to 30, I started getting into masters track and started teaching myself some of the throwing events, because there's a pentathlon that includes discus and javelin. And since I would say age 42 or so, the javelin actually became my best event.
Wow.
Although right now it might be shot put. So I had major foot surgery in 2013, so I haven't done too much running since then. But I still like to compete in the throwing events, which really has a certain similarity to sprinting, because they're very explosive, as you certainly know the physics of sport, and you have to have a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber. It's a very explosive event. It's certainly an anaerobic. They're anaerobic events, and that's where my strength lies.
Awesome. So before we get into our subjects today, let's thank our sponsors. First, we have to thank PhilRoss.com, 101 virtual training through kettlebells, bodyweight, and defensive tactics, the secrets of kettlebell training, the kettlebell workout library, and Survival Strong. We have the Bodybell Method. It's the world's only kettlebell bodyweight and dynamic strength training certification based on a minimalist approach to strength, health, and fitness. The system is recognized by both ACE and NASM for continuing education credits and is listed on their respective sites. Certifications are available in person or online. And then we also have products for training. These are all available on the philross.com site through Dragon Door. We have Fit Team for healthy organic energy boosting and weight control supplements. We also have Burn Along. I'm one of the featured instructors, as well as my lovely wife, with over 2,000 other instructors on it. Go onto the Master Phil in Your Corner website and click on the links there and use the discount codes for your monthly memberships. And P3 Training Group. Plan, prepare, protect. Are you and your family or your company prepared? I'm the defensive tactics instructor for this group. I'm actually the only non-law enforcement officer the only non-law enforcement instructor in the crew. We have Health is a Wealth, the interactive health, fitness, and wellness platform. Read blogs, watch videos, take surveys with medical, health, and educational professionals, all for free. Just sign up today on healthisawealth.com. Speaking engagements and coaching through the Professional Speakers Bureau and zwinningmindset.com. I present through both of these organizations. We do group, one-on-one, we do athletes, executives, you name it. Also, PPV, that's pay-per-view flicks. The owners of Warrior Island have launched a fitness and wellness video training platform, and all my educational material will be available there as well. Don't forget to check out the Master Phil in Your Corner podcast. Look us up on YouTube at Master Phil or on Rumble. I have to let you know that YouTube pulled down one of my videos recently, so I'm probably just going to post them up on rumble.com right now, because I don't like that being done, but it is under appeal right now as we speak. So we had a lot of things go on, past week or so, and honestly, something that's taken over a week should have taken a day, or it's almost a week right now. We still don't know some of the results of these elections that occurred, and we're supposed to get a red tsunami, a red tidal wave, and so forth. And heck, it looks more like a pink trickle than a red wave. And there's a couple of factors involved in that, and I'd like to discuss these. One of them is Mitch McConnell. What do you think about Mitch McConnell's part in the failure of the more conservative mindset, the more pro-American mindset to take over?
Well, I'm not a political scientist, but I try to be dialed into what's going on in this country. And obviously, since the 2000 election between Gore and Bush, and of course, with all the different news outlets that we have, you can't help but really be cognizant and take a proactive stance as to what's going on. And so,
let's focus on what you said there for a minute. Okay, you talked about the election of between Gore and Bush, and we all know, or people who don't know, younger people may not know about the hanging chads and the total mayhem that occurred in Florida back in the 2000 election. And since then, Florida's done a pretty darn good job, right? I mean, I've run many, many events in my life, from martial arts events to MMA events to wrestling events to seminars, workshops, whatever it might be. And you know what I do whenever I do an event, and I actually teach this in my in one of the classes I teach at the colleges, event management. And what I do after each event, I write down everything that went wrong and everything that went right, and I improve it. And Florida, look at what Florida did. They have the third largest population in the country, and they were done by 8 o'clock and had the results in by 10.
Well, exactly. I mean, the thing that's really getting to me, and honestly, it seems like it's getting worse every 4 years or every 2 years. You look at a state like Alaska. I think there's less than 800,000 people in the whole state.
Bergen County, where we live, has more people than Alaska.
Right. Bergen County has about 150,000 more people than the whole state of Alaska.
Yep.
And they still haven't figured out the results. Now they have a real cockeyed method of voting there. We won't get into that, but the fact that this is a sparsely populated state, and Nevada is another one. It's got maybe 3 million people. and even though they declared the winner now, it shouldn't have taken 5 days. And actually all the numbers are not even in. So it's absolutely pathetic. And, I've been interested. I've always been kind of a stat geek, starting with my interest in baseball. And so I have vivid memories of the 68 election with Nixon and Humphrey, and the 76 election between Carter and Ford. Now, the 76 election, I think, was actually closer in terms of electoral votes.
Mhm.
The 68 one was very close. 76 was actually even closer in terms of the electoral college. And yet, by 12 o'clock, you knew the outcome. And we have all these computers now. We've got much more technology, and we can't figure this stuff out now, 48 years later. It's inexcusable. And yes, Florida did a fantastic job. It's got 30 electoral votes. Its population is growing in leaps and bounds, and they got it done.
Yep.
And
how come they can get it done?
Why should it be a problem in these little states? Nevada, outside of Clark County and maybe a little bit around Reno, there's hardly anyone that lives in that state. And of course, Maricopa County in Arizona is a complete and honestly, if you look at the history of America, there's always been a history of tampering and cheating, going back to Tammany Hall in New York in the 1870s. Louisiana, the whole state of Louisiana was legendary. Jersey City, New Jersey, Baltimore, Chicago.
And you forget about Rhode Island,
right? Yeah, Providence, Rhode Island. And of course, most of these, I think Dinesh D'Souza has explored this quite vividly. This tradition has always been in Democrat strongholds.
Yes,
because they dominate the cities, and they kind of make up their own rules, and there's no one looking over the shoulder. And quite frankly, the press is on their side. They're running interference for them.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
you're looking at the situation, and you have let's take Arizona for instance, right? They had issues in the 2020 election. They did not address them. Obviously, maybe they made them worse. I don't even know, but they have not addressed them because you know what? They're not accountable. Because hey, look, they're saying we're winning, so let's keep it going this way. But you know what? It's not right. They're not putting forth the correct information. The operation, and you know what? Even if maybe they're not cheating, it looks like they're cheating.
Exactly. You know what? And if you have nothing to hide, then just be more forthright. Yep. Because you want the populace to have confidence in how everything's conducted. Yeah. So Arizona is an interesting case because traditionally it's been more of a Republican state, and I know things have shifted here and there. I have a dear friend of mine I grew up with. He lives in Sedona. Yeah. He actually was a bit of a hippie type growing up, and in his time, oddly enough, he's become more conservative in the years he's lived out in Sedona, and this is not exactly Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, this is where a lot of ex-Woodstock types gravitate to, and it's had the opposite effect on him, and he's disheartened. He's disheartened as to what's happened in his state. So I know that a lot of Californians have moved to Arizona, which has created somewhat of a shift, but it's certainly not, Maryland or Massachusetts. It shouldn't be this complicated because there should be checks and balances, because it is a purple state now. Yeah. And you would think that both sides would be keeping your eyes on one another, but in fact, this gentleman, his name is Bill Gates, oddly enough, who he's been in the press, or he's been on TV quite a bit this week defending the protocol. He's a Republican technically, and he's taking umbrage with Kerry Lake's criticism. But obviously, whoever side you support, you've got to be humiliated at how this is dragged out. Yep. I mean, here it is. It's Sunday night, and this governor's race is still not concluded. there's no excuse. There's no excuse for it.
Inexcusable.
Now, countries around the world are probably laughing at us. You know,
Oh, yeah,
I think
yeah. Hey, I'm
these other
laughing.
countries, they knock them out in no time flat.
Yeah. Look, I'm laughing at us, but I'm crying.
Well, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
the thing is, I've always been of the mindset that you can sit there and point fingers and blame and blame and blame, but you know what? There are certain things that you can do. And, I think that we have some issues right within the movement itself. I'm 100% on board with the MAGA movement, but I think maybe time to switch leadership. So, let's take, for instance, Mitch McConnell. I know he's a rhino to the nth degree, and he's got to go. He's got to go. He's one of the issues. He's one of our problems with the movement, because
Well, I mean, here's the thing. All right, so in Alaska, you knew you were going to end up with a Republican. Now, there's degrees of satisfaction with the candidates. So Murkowski's been there for a long time, and Shabaka is running against her, and they're both.
I'm sorry. I just think of Star Wars. I think of Chewbacca.
Yeah,
I can't help it. That's what I think
yeah.
of. I think it's
But the point,
hairy
to tell you the
giant.
truth, one thing I have not heard anyone from either the left or the right, that if Shabaka wins the seat, it is sort of like a flip for the Republicans, because Murkowski has been a thorn in the side. She's voted against the Republican trends many times, and so having her there it's not really like having a Republican. But anyway, the point is, McConnell's sent millions of dollars to that campaign, which could have been better funneled to support Republican candidates in Laxalt in Nevada, and in
Herschel Walker,
as well as in Pennsylvania, and with Herschel Walker in Georgia. Yep. So and then even in New Hampshire, right? There was talk that it was going to be a toss-up state, and no money was directed towards the New Hampshire race. And quite frankly, Zeldin in New York State could have benefited from some more funds for more advertising. So here's just one example of a really misguided channeling funds.
Yeah, let me jump in on something, because, and then we're going to get into Trump a little bit, because the reason I decided to call this the pink trickle is, we can't, I know you're a stats geek. I am a stats geek too. I love statistics. Happen to do very well in them at school. But the thing is, when you're looking at it, if you consider that the economy, we were talking about economy, crimes, jobs, so forth. Economy was the #1 issue for people voting on the exit polls. And so you're talking about, that was anywhere, depending upon the state, anywhere from 32 to 35%. But you know what was a close second? The abortion issue. That was anywhere from 27 to 30% of the exit polls. And you know what? The 68% of single women voted Democrat on that single issue. You know what's really funny? I find this really funny. And people can say whatever they want about me. Honestly, I really don't care. But women say that men think with their private parts and judge everything by their private parts. Well, I'll tell you what, seems like women are voting because of their private parts. We're sacrificing 401ks, crime rate, gas, and our position in the world, all because of supposed private part invasion, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is that the Republicans did not position this properly, because the Supreme Court ruling was actually put forth at an incorrect time, inopportune time for the Republican Party. But if you just look at that ruling, what they basically did was they punted it back to the states, where it's not a constitutional issue, and it should be on the state level. And look, if something's on the state level, in my mind, is either, if you don't like a law in your state, you work to change it, or move, go to a different state.
Yeah.
Okay. This may be happening with me as well. But if I don't like, I'm a Jersey guy through and through, but I don't like what's going on. I've worked to change it. If I can't change it, hey, you know what? I'm going to know when it's time to go. But they did not explain this right. I was actually, I was speaking with Frank Pallotta. He called me up a couple of days before the election. He was running for Congress, and we're talking. I go, Frank, listen, you know what? They're out and out lying about your position on abortion, because they're saying that he says that abortion is manslaughter, and people should be held up. Charges should be pressed for manslaughter. Okay. Most people have no idea that in the state of New Jersey, we have full-term abortion. There are zero limitations on the time in the pregnancy. So that means the day before this baby is supposed to be born, you
Right.
could abort it. Okay. I'll tell you what, that's manslaughter. I don't care where you stand on this. A child in the womb at 6, 7, 8 months, that's a viable person. I don't care what you're saying. Now, look, of course, take off the table rape, incest, endangering the life of the mother, blah, 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 blah.
You're up for a second on that point. First of all, if a woman's been raped, I don't think she's going to want to wait till the 6th or 5th month.
Thank you.
To abort the child. So it's
you.
a non-issue.
Right.
The other thing was, I obviously I am a pro-life individual, and it's not just because I'm Catholic. You could be an atheist and still value the sanctity of life. There was a writer named Nat Hentoff who wrote for the Village Voice for many years. He was a secular Jew, irreligious, and he used to write extensively on the rights of the unborn. So it's not necessarily a religious issue. However, if you look at the science behind it, I was actually surprised to find out what a high survival rate of babies born in the 27th or 25th week. And quite frankly, the left is always talking about, giving a lifeline to, almost hopeless situations, whether it's with illegal immigrants or people that need to be continued on public assistance, and 7 strikes and you're out. I mean, whatever. Right. So the Democrats were very successful in promoting these ads. For example, they were saying the Republicans want to ban abortion, all abortions. Well, they want to ban all abortions after 15 weeks.
Right. Well, you see,
quite frankly,
let's hold that thought. Let's hold that thought for a second, because most people also don't realize that the fact that this even got brought up to the Supreme Court is because Planned Parenthood in Mississippi sued the state of Mississippi because they wanted to extend the rights beyond 15 weeks. And that's why it got brought up to the Supreme Court.
Right.
It never got brought up. If Planned Parenthood, look, most European countries, it's around 12 weeks, 15 weeks, so forth. Anything after that is not allowed. Anything before that is kind of okay. Right. Most people are okay with that. You say a large block. Personally, look, it has nothing to do with my personal convictions, but that shouldn't be legislation. My personal religious or personal emotional convictions.
A state's issue through and through. Secondly, we have the 4th most lenient or extreme, whatever choice of words you want to use. I think we have the 4th most extreme abortion laws in the world. So all these leftists, all these ultra socialist Western European countries don't have laws that allow abortion to the great extent that it's allowed in the United States.
Well, who has it more than us? Because we up to birth. I mean, what are they extended to, like the 12?
That's true.
Maybe
we're equal. Maybe we're tied with 3 other countries, and I know North Korea is one of them, and China's one of them. Russia during the height. Now I know I don't know how it is now, but during the height of the Soviet Union, the average woman had 5 abortions in Russia. And I've met a number of people who were born in Russia that came here, and the vast majority of them were only children. So there was this really, really stringent effort by the government to really limit family size. And, you know, to me, that's the most basic violation of human rights. If you are trying to control people's families and how many kids they can have. Now, obviously, you know, some people are not responsible, but to try to, and of course, we know about China's one-child rule, which has only been recently softened a little bit. But that to me is just so against, it's a crime against humanity. But the point is, like you were saying, if you don't like a law, work to change it or move. And so I really like I really don't appreciate the disingenuous tone coming from a lot of these celebrities, like Anne Hathaway, who lives in New York, who's from Brooklyn originally, and probably lives in Hollywood now. And what does she care what the law is in North Dakota or Utah? You know, and honestly, it's a symptom of a bigger problem. I mean, we have so much dysfunction in families. My daughter is a freshman at Susquehanna, is rated the 28th most conservative college in the country by Niche. I wasn't even aware of that when she was applying there, but she was dumbfounded during her orientation week how many disaffected young women, more so than boys, who you know, are very cynical. They're all in with this ultra left worldview. They think their parents just lied to them in their whole life. They feel like, you know, first of all, they're all at a nice college, so obviously their parents did something for them to get this far in life. But and I even see this amongst my kids' peers. My son went to Bergen Catholic. Almost without exception, all his friends are just real solid citizens, just got their heads screwed on right. My daughter went to Immaculate Heart Academy, another Catholic high school, and one of my dearest friends, one of his grammar school friends, her daughter is on the faculty at IHA, and she said she's just devastated at how much she kind of clashes with a lot of the mothers of these girls. There's a trend in America now where a lot of parents are so afraid of clashing with their kids or drawing a line in the sand that they just cave in.
Well, I will tell you something. We're going to delve into that, and I will definitely have you on another podcast. That's a whole nother subject. It's actually
it's a building block to where we are in the macro view.
Right, but you know what? There's one thing I wanted to address with you, because we actually have X amount of time left in the podcast today, and the fact that it's a hot topic right now and something we have to really address before it goes too far. Trump, you know, big Trump supporter, love the guy, love what he's done for our movement, the MAGA movement. I think it needs to continue. I think it needs to move forward. I think it needs to get bigger. The one thing that, and I said this, you know, during the 2020 campaign, because I was like kind of in, well, whatever, they were asking, you know, doing the polls. I'd probably just get the money from me, but you know, what do you think you should be? What do you think you should be doing? You got any advice, so forth, so on. You know, an overwhelming amount of people told him to shut up, and he just couldn't, and he just wouldn't. Here's the problem: when you're on the outside, it's okay to be the disruptor. However, when you're inside and you're the head of it, you can no longer be the disruptor. You have to change. I know he was maligned. I know that he stood up for himself, but there are different ways of doing it, and he turned off way too many people. And I think that actually right now, he's actually hurting the party and hurting the movement. And he needs to step back. I mean, look, he's 76. He runs. He'll be 78. We don't need any more old people running the country. We want younger blood in there. I mean, I love DeSantis. I think he's fantastic. He's got a great demeanor. He knows how to put people in their place. And there's a list of other people too that I like. But look, in my estimation, I think it's time for him to take a step back. If he wants to help out, help out. But I don't know if he can stand not being in the limelight and not being the center of attention.
Well, I basically agree with everything you're saying. Now, here's the thing in support of Trump.
Mhm.
Despite the success of DeSantis in this recent election, so for those who don't know, DeSantis won his last election by small margin, I think like 0.8 point. He won by a major blowout.
Huge.
But the number of votes cast for him was still about 1 million less than what Trump got 2 years ago. And one of the problems in the Rust Belt states was a lot of people who voted for Trump in 20 stayed home. Vance won in Ohio by a much smaller margin than it was prognosticated, even by the mainstream media. Ron Johnson in Wisconsin won by 8/10, and he should have won by about 4. So a lot of people just stayed home. So that's what I'll say.
Here's something I want to run by. In an off-year election, okay, like we had in this state too last year, but in an off-year election, when it's just governor, less people come out to vote. That's
yeah, I'm aware of that, but still, those are pretty big numbers.
Look what happened. Look what happened last year. Only 44% of the available electorate came out and voted for our governors in 2021. Only 44% of the electorate voted, and
right.
That was pathetic considering what's gone on with that.
Well, but once that we can get into a whole other discussion, because the scenario there was a carbon copy of what went on in Georgia in 20. Citarelli was winning at 1 a.m. and then by 7 a.m. all of a sudden he was behind. And why was there such a problem with counting votes from Newark? But all right, so that.
Well,
so
why? That's because the Dunkin' Donuts trucks came in at 1 a.m. loaded with ballots.
So all right, so I said what I've said my piece on what Trump brings to the table. Now, the other issue, the biggest issue, really is his age. Now, he seems like a pretty vibrant guy, but he's going to be 78 in 2 years, right? So, and also, I think he wields great power as a kingmaker. I don't think that's his style.
Nail on the head.
Thing I'll say, if Trump thinks he has a 50-50 chance of winning or losing in 2 years, I don't know if his psychology would allow him to face another defeat. Right. If he feels, he's got like a 54-46 chance to win, he's probably going to run again. But if it's really going to be razor thin, I don't know if he wants to go through that. I don't blame, maybe I'd give a little bit of blame, but there's enough blame to spread around the country. One of the other issues is the Republicans made great inroads with Latinos, continue to grow, and even with African Americans. The problem is in these districts where they got a nice bump, they're such blue counties or voting districts that they're still not going to produce victories. So there's a lot of mathematical analysis that has to be applied, and it makes me sick that so much is about money invested in advertising. To me, after about 6 weeks, I kind of know who I'm going to vote for. I don't understand these people that are undecided 2 weeks before an election. That's a vast number of Americans.
Well, we can also state that for another podcast, because I have a whole bunch of information that we can discuss there too on
we can go 7 weeks talking about.
I know we constantly. I mean, I have subjects listed up and down. And the thing is, when I first started doing this, I was just talking about health, welfare, and safety. But you know what? Our safety is at stake. We're looking at these blue cities where the crime rate is gone through the ceiling. And you look at it, look at the exit, look at the country, there's the states with the highest exit rate. New Jersey is the #1 percentage-wise for people leaving. We have California, Illinois, Massachusetts, all down the line. They're all blue states. People are leaving. Why is that? People are afraid and people are tired.
Yeah. Here's a statistic that I just heard about 2 weeks ago. So before COVID, the most murders in a given year in the New York subway system was 5.
Yep.
And since April of 2020 to now, there's been 21 murders.
Yeah.
And this year's not even over yet.
Right.
So, that's a pretty profound statistic. And I personally don't think here in Bergen County, it's an issue, but
wait a minute, no, I'm gonna disagree with you there, because even in my town, we've had record number of break-ins. We just had a strong arm robbery at the pizza joint a week and a half ago. The people are breaking into these homes in the neighborhood. I've had helicopters above my house searching for people. Okay, I mean, I'm at the ready. I don't know if people are as at the ready as I am, but
Yeah, well, one thing I will say, I used to be friendly with a cop here in Englewood, and he used to tell me about all kinds of incidences that happened in Englewood and Teaneck that never made it into newspaper. There's a concerted effort from the editorial staff of the Bergen Record to soft sell the crimes that go on in the county, Bergen and Passaic County. Quite frankly, even with that, every week there's some horrible crime that goes on in Patterson or Passaic.
Oh yeah, right down the street.
And I'm sure they're just reporting a fraction of what's going on. And then, of course, Camden, New Jersey has been emptied out.
Well, we'll get into that again, but we have to wrap things up right now. Right. But I want to thank you, Ramo, for being on the podcast. I want to thank the audience for listening. We're going to pick it up on another podcast. Thank you for another episode of Master Phil in Your Corner. Strength and honor.
Good night, Phil. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.